Alright, well, apparently I'm incapable of doing a live because my channel doesn't meet the restrictions. A few things I wanted to put out there. This live probably would have been shut down instantly, and nothing here is monetized, so you don't have to worry about the fact of anybody gaining money for my opinions. But the George Floyd thing, the officer deserves to be charged. I don't know if they can prove second-degree murder. They might. In which case, I'm glad they have the charges. If they can't prove it, they're in trouble. I think the other officer should have been charged also. I agree with that. Two of my neighbors, my neighbor across the street, my neighbor to my south, have signs in their windows saying Black Lives Matter. As soon as my wife saw that, she wanted to put a sign up in our window that said All Lives Matter. I had to explain to her why that's not a good idea, because if the riots do come to the suburbs here, I'm going to be standing on the roof of the gun, for one, and I don't need the extra attention. For two, it's considered racist. Seems odd. You know, saying Black Lives Matter is okay, but saying all lives matter, that's racist. It's a really messed up world we live in now. I forget which of the two artists sang it. It was Adam Calhoun or Ryan Upchurch, but Land of the Free, Home of the Brave. I think it was Adam Calhoun. And it really puts an emphasis on what's going on right now. Now, tonight we're dealing with the things that happened in Atlanta yesterday. I think it was yesterday. Well, it was definitely yesterday now. It might have been 2 days ago now, because it's currently 6 after 1 in the morning on Sunday. But if you fight with, we'll start at the beginning, from what I understand of it, and very preliminary, I just heard about it today. If you pass out because you're intoxicated or high on something in a Wendy's drive-thru, and the cops are called and you fail a field sobriety test, you should probably just take your ticket. I've gotten a DWI. I understand how it goes. Driving while intoxicated. Blew a .11. I don't condone it. I'm not ashamed of it. But I didn't fight with the cop and take his taser and tase him with it to get shot. That's a different level of shit. And pardon my French, this is generally a 18 plus channel, 13 plus anyway nowadays because of the language used. I don't think it's necessary for anyone to fight with an officer. The only stipulation I see is if your rights are being bypassed, in which case you've got a better chance fighting in court than fighting the officer. That's just my opinion. I'm not really sure how most of y'all feel about this video, but this is something that I've been contemplating for a couple of days. I really wanted to stay out of this whole thing because I don't think it's my place, you know, my white privilege and all, to say my opinion. But when it comes down to it, we all bleed red. We're all pink inside until we're cooked. I don't see a lot of point in feeding the race debate. There's a lot of races on this planet. The one we're a part of, you, me, and everybody else that speaks the English language or any other language that's able to speak. Part of the human race. It's about time we start to realize that. Governments around the world will politicize violence against one race to make the races fight one another. The races fight one another. We're ethnicities, we're cultures. I'm a different culture than somebody living 20 miles away from me, or 1,000 miles across country, 2,000 miles, 3,000 miles away. Doesn't matter. We're different cultures with the same race. And when it comes down to the fact of race, the human race, This stuff going on right now, peaceful protest or riot, isn't going to help anything. What's going to help is when you and I decide to stand together against the corruption in our towns, our cities, our governments, our cultures. That's the only time things are really going to start to change. And until that day comes, you can argue about your race all you want and how you're oppressed. Chances are you're oppressing yourself. I have black friends that do better than I do in life because they strive for it. They go out and earn it. I've got white friends of mine that do horribly in life because they make bad choices. They get into drugs, get into gangs, get into dead-end jobs, and they think they're going to make something of themselves from it. It's not going to happen. This is not a commercial, but I'm thirsty. I have an issue with the way this country is going. I mean, the way it's going is going that way because of mainstream media and how they pit us against one another, as well as how they push certain narratives. It's unnecessary for us to be at odds with one another. We should be at odds with the man, the one keeping us all down. The unjust laws that need to be corrected. You can say you correct that by who you vote for president. It's not where it counts though. Your local elections, your town council, who is the sheriff, those are the ones that count. The local stuff counts more than anything you can do on a national level. The sooner people start to realize this, the sooner people start to realize that this systemic racism, as they call it, and I believe that racism does exist. I've been at the other end of racism. When I try and explain my point of view to somebody of another ethnicity, and they want to say, oh, well, you don't know what it's like to be oppressed, you don't know what it's like to be this race, this culture. I know what it's like to be oppressed. I just was. You look at this beard, you look at this skin, you think just another hillbilly. What you don't understand is my upbringing. Growing up in some of the most downtrodden parts of the neighborhood where I did grow up. And going from that to living in one of the highest end housing areas in West Hartford, Connecticut. And dealing with people who always thought they were better than everybody else. And they, I'm sure, all still do. You miss that part when you look at this and you interpret it the way you do. Everybody's got their life experience. Everybody's life experiences make them who they are today. You're not downtrodden by your race, you're downtrodden by your experience. Change that. Make that better. Get to know brothers and sisters of all creeds, including us privileged white folk. Get to know us. You'll find out we all bleed red. We're all pink inside until we're cooked, and then the meat gets brown, I'm sure, just like beef. But in the meantime, think about your community and who's harmed by violent protests, and stand up for your community where you can, safely, and get the good word out. There's good and evil in every ethnicity and across the world. Everybody has both good and evil in him. The part that wins is the part you feed the most. Jester Fly, Upstate NY, signing out. Hopefully somebody got something out of this, because these are words that all of us need to hear right now. We're all in this together. You burn everything to the ground and there's no police left because everybody quits because they feel oppressed, nobody wins. That's when the rooftop Koreans come out and we end up with blood on our hands, and none of us want that. So, BLM, Antifa, patriotic Americans alike. We have a common enemy, an overzealous system, but some of us are going about it the wrong way in my eyes, and that's my opinion. Opinions are like assholes. Everybody's got one. Some people talk at them, probably this guy. Until next time, Fox November 32 Delta Juliet area signing out.